big shout out to LitRPG Reads and to Paul Bella. Fine fella. He inspired this deep dive.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, he sent in this really cool article, Populating Your D&D World with Spotlight-Stealing NPCs by Ken Chan.
Okay.
And, this whole topic of spotlight-stealing NPCs really resonates with me. Because I remember this one game I was running, and I had this, really minor NPC plan.
Okay.
A grumpy dwarf librarian.
Ah, I love it. Classics.
You know the type?
Yeah.
Dusty robes, constantly shushing people.
Yeah.
He was only supposed to be like a 5-minute encounter.
Right.
Just a quick stop for the party so they could research some local legend.
Sure.
But,
I bet he became much more than that.
oh, he absolutely did.
It's amazing how these, insignificant NPCs can sometimes just hijack our best laid plans.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, this dwarf, with his disdain for loud adventurers and his uncanny ability to find any book in, seconds, he totally stole the show.
I love it.
The players just loved him, and he ended up being their guide for a huge chunk of the campaign. Wow. Offering cryptic clues, translating ancient texts. He even joined them in a few daring escapes.
No kidding.
So what was supposed to be this quick little 5-minute stop turned into this, beloved recurring character.
That's great.
And it just got me thinking, what is it about these spotlight-stealing NPCs?
Yeah.
What makes them so memorable?
Right.
And how can we as DMs create more of them? Luckily, we have Ken Chan's article here to help us crack the code.
Well, and what I think is so fascinating about this article is it really does move beyond just that surface level.
Yeah.
It's not just about giving an NPC a funny hat or a weird quirk, right?
Right.
It's about understanding the deeper mechanics of what makes an NPC truly unforgettable. Think about your dwarf librarian.
Okay.
Why did he resonate so much with your players?
I think, well, he was definitely funny.
Okay.
He had this, really dry, sarcastic wit.
Yeah.
Which played off the party's, much more boisterous personalities.
Right.
But it was more than that.
Yep.
He also had this, surprising vulnerability.
Okay.
This secret passion for lost civilizations that he very rarely showed.
Interesting.
And I think that's what really hooked the players.
I see, yeah.
He saw beyond the grumpy facade.
Yeah.
And they connected with something deeper.
Right.
And I mean, from a pure storytelling perspective, he also provided this sense of continuity.
Okay.
He became this thread that connected all these various plot points, and it just added this layer of depth to the overall narrative.
That's a crucial point, I think, because memorable NPCs, they aren't just comic relief or side characters. They can be really powerful tools for world building, for deepening player engagement, and even for driving the plot forward in these really unexpected ways.
Totally.
And as you pointed out, humor is often a really key ingredient. But it's about using humor strategically.
Right.
Not just throwing in random jokes. The article gives this great example of a blacksmith who writes terrible poetry.
Okay, yeah.
It's funny because it's unexpected. You have this big burly blacksmith with this delicate soul.
Yeah.
And it creates this really delightful dissonance that makes him instantly memorable.
Exactly. And it's not even just about the joke itself,
Right.
but how it's delivered.
Yes.
So imagine that blacksmith reciting his poem in this deep, booming voice, totally unaware of how awful it is.
Yeah.
The players would be in stitches.
Absolutely. It's the delivery, the context, the character's complete obliviousness that elevates the humor. But like you said, it's not just about being funny.
Right.
Memorable NPCs often have this really unique blend of traits, humor, vulnerability, even a touch of mystery. Think about some of the most iconic characters in literature and film.
Okay.
They're rarely one-dimensional. They have layers, contradictions, secrets that keep us guessing.
Yeah.
And that complexity is what makes them so compelling.
So how do we as DMs take these ideas and actually translate them into memorable NPCs for our own games?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
Where do we even begin?
Well, the article offers some excellent starting points.
Okay.
One of the key takeaways is the importance of designing unique quirks.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about simple physical attributes. We need to go deeper. Remember that druid who only communicates through trained birds.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a quirk that sticks with you.
Yeah, I remember that example from the article. It's brilliant because it's not just random.
Right.
It's tied to the druid's character, to their connection with nature.
Exactly.
And it immediately sparks like a ton of questions in the players' minds.
Yeah.
Like, how do they train the birds? What kind of messages can they convey? It creates intrigue.
Absolutely. And it opens up like a world of possibilities for role-playing. Imagine the party trying to have this like serious conversation with this druid with birds like chirping and flapping all around them.
Yeah.
It would be hilarious and memorable, wouldn't it?
So we've got humor, we've got these unique quirks. But what else makes an NPC truly stand out?
Right.
What makes them the ones that the players will talk about long after the session is over?
Yeah.
What elevates them to like legend status?
Well, another aspect the article touches upon is this idea of the art of the catchphrase.
Okay.
Think about some of your favorite characters from movies or TV shows. They often have that signature phrase, a way of speaking that instantly identifies them.
Okay.
Becomes like part of their identity, a shorthand for their personality, and you can apply that same principle to your NPCs.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Can you give us a concrete example?
Sure.
To illustrate how this catchphrase thing works?
Absolutely. Imagine you have this NPC. He's like this wise old wizard.
Okay.
A master of time and space. And every time the party seeks his advice, he begins his pronouncements with, "Time is but an illusion, but the consequences of your actions are very real."
Ooh, I love that. It's not just like a random saying.
Right.
It actually gives us insight into the wizard's worldview.
Yeah.
Their understanding of magic.
Exactly.
And you can bet the players will start quoting that phrase back to him.
Yeah.
Maybe even adopt it as their own motto.
Totally.
It becomes this shared language, this inside joke that strengthens their connection with the NPC.
Exactly. And it's so simple, yet so effective. It's all about finding those little details that add depth and personality. And remember, it's not just about words.
Right.
It's about voice, tone, mannerisms. A gruff, battle-scarred warrior will speak very differently from a timid, bookish scholar.
Yeah.
Those differences create a sense of variety and make your world feel more alive.
So we've talked about humor, quirks, catchphrases that all start to come together. But I'm curious, what about those NPCs who really shake things up?
Yeah.
The ones who like challenge our expectations and make us question everything we thought we knew about the world?
That's where the concept of subverting tropes comes in. We're all familiar with those classic fantasy archetypes, the noble knight, the wise wizard, the evil sorcerer.
Right.
But what if we turn those tropes on their head?
Okay.
What if our noble knight is actually terrified of combat and hides behind this facade of bravado?
Oh, I like where this is going.
Yeah.
What if our wise wizard is actually a complete fraud, just faking their magical powers?
Absolutely.
Or maybe our evil sorcerer is actually trying to save the world in their own, like, twisted way.
Precisely. It's about playing with those expectations and creating characters who defy easy categorization. The article highlights some truly intriguing examples.
Okay.
Like, a noble who prefers anonymity and spends their time helping the poor rather than attending lavish parties.
Oh, interesting.
Or a misunderstood villain who's actually a victim of circumstance, forced into a life of crime.
Those are great examples.
Yeah.
So how do we actually go about subverting these tropes in a way that feels organic and believable? What are the steps involved?
I think it starts with really understanding the trope itself.
Okay.
What are its core elements?
Right.
What are the expectations that come with it? Once you have a firm grasp of that, then you can start brainstorming ways to twist those expectations, to introduce contradictions and complexities.
So it's about digging deeper.
Yeah.
Going beyond the surface level. It's not just about giving a knight a quirky phobia or making a villain secretly kind.
Yeah.
It's about weaving those subversions into their motivations, their backstories, their entire being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about being bold, about taking risks. Don't be afraid to push the boundaries of those classic archetypes and see what emerges. Because sometimes the most memorable NPCs are the ones who break all the rules.
This is all so insightful.
Okay.
I'm already feeling inspired to go back and revamp some of my own NPCs.
Awesome.
But before we get too carried away with subverting tropes and crafting catchphrases, I think it's important to remember that these spotlight-stealing NPCs, while captivating, need to be handled with care. We don't want them overshadowing the players.
Absolutely. It's a delicate balancing act. We want them to shine, to be memorable.
Right.
But ultimately, they're there to serve the players and enhance their experience. And that's a topic we'll delve into further
Okay.
after a quick break. We want them to shine, right? To be memorable, but ultimately they're there to serve the players and enhance their experience.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a stage production.
Okay.
You know, these spotlight-stealing NPCs have their moment in the limelight. They captivate the audience, but then, it's time for them to gracefully step back and let the main characters, the players, take center stage again.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we as DMs manage that transition?
Right.
How do we ensure those memorable NPCs don't end up hijacking the entire campaign?
Well, the article offers some really practical advice on that front. One approach is to gradually transition these NPCs into more supportive roles.
Like remember your dwarf librarian?
Yeah.
Perhaps as the campaign progressed, he became less of an active adventurer and more of like a mentor figure for the party.
Okay.
Offering guidance and wisdom from the safety of his library.
I see.
Yeah.
So he's still present. He's still part of their lives.
Right.
But he's no longer the one calling all the shots.
Exactly.
He's shifted from center stage to, like, a more advisory role.
Right.
Allowing the players to take the lead.
Precisely. And that transition can feel natural, even enriching for the story.
Yeah.
It allows for character development, both of the NPC and the players. Maybe your librarian, through his interactions with the party, starts to overcome his fear of the outside world.
Okay.
Maybe he even joins them on a final epic quest.
Yeah.
Not as a guide, but as an equal.
That's a great way to keep the NPC relevant.
Right.
Without letting them dominate the narrative.
Exactly.
The article also mentioned managing their appearances.
Yeah.
What exactly do they mean by that? It's about recognizing that constant exposure can diminish the impact of even the most captivating NPC.
Okay.
Remember that blacksmith with a penchant for terrible poetry?
Yeah.
If he's in every town the party visits, reciting the same awful verses, the joke will quickly wear thin.
Right. Familiarity breeds, well, not necessarily contempt, but definitely less excitement.
Exactly.
So how do we strike that balance? How do we keep them present enough to be memorable?
Yeah.
But not so present that they become predictable?
Strategic absence.
Okay.
Maybe that blacksmith only appears in cities known for their metalwork.
Okay.
Or perhaps he travels from town to town, setting up his forge for like a limited time.
Okay.
Creates this sense of anticipation for his next appearance.
Right.
And when he does show up, the players will be genuinely excited to hear his latest terrible masterpiece.
That's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah.
It's like those limited edition collectibles.
Right.
Their rarity makes them all the more desirable. But what about those NPCs who are like really deeply tied to the main plot?
Yeah.
How do we manage their presence without giving away too much information?
Right.
Or railroading the players?
That's where the art of subtle integration comes in.
Okay.
Let's say you have this enigmatic sorcerer who holds a key to unlocking this powerful ancient artifact.
Right.
The MacGuffin of your campaign.
Okay.
You don't want to constantly shove them in the players' faces, revealing all their secrets.
Right. That would ruin the mystery and make the players feel like they're being led by the nose.
Exactly. Instead, sprinkle hints about their existence throughout the campaign.
Okay.
Maybe the party finds a cryptic note in an abandoned temple mentioning the sorcerer's name. Or they overhear a whispered conversation in like a crowded tavern, alluding to their hidden agenda.
Okay.
These breadcrumbs of information will pique the player's curiosity, making them actively seek out the sorcerer rather than passively waiting for them to appear.
It's like planting seeds of intrigue, letting those seeds germinate in the players' minds, driving their actions and decisions.
Exactly.
It's a much more organic and engaging approach than simply having the sorcerer show up and announce, here I am, I have the information you need.
Exactly. And when the players finally DO encounter this sorcerer, the weight of that encounter will be amplified by all the anticipation you've built up. It becomes a pivotal moment in their journey rather than just another NPC interaction.
This is all so insightful. Like we're learning the delicate art of storytelling, of weaving these threads of narrative and character development together to create a truly captivating experience for our players.
And let's not forget the power of transformation.
Okay.
These spotlight-stealing NPCs shouldn't remain static.
Right.
They should evolve, change, even surprise us as the campaign unfolds.
Oh, that's a great point. It's like real life. People aren't stagnant.
Right.
They grow, they learn, they make mistakes, they change their minds.
Right.
And our NPCs should reflect that complexity.
Absolutely. Remember that jester who provided comic relief?
Yeah.
Maybe as the campaign progresses, we reveal a hidden depth to their character.
Okay.
Perhaps they're a war veteran, haunted by their past, using humor as a shield to mask their pain.
Whoa, that's such a powerful twist.
Yeah.
It adds layers to their character, making them so much more relatable and intriguing.
Right.
And it opens up opportunities for deeper interactions with the players.
Exactly.
Maybe they confide in the party, seeking their help to overcome their trauma.
Yeah.
Maybe they even become a valuable ally. Their jests replaced by insightful wisdom born from their experiences.
Precisely. By allowing our NPCs to evolve, we keep the players guessing, we keep the campaign fresh, and we create opportunities for truly meaningful connections.
Right.
And that's what makes tabletop role-playing so special, isn't it? It's about these shared stories, these collaborations between DM and players, where characters, both major and minor, come to life.
It's the unpredictable moments, the unexpected twists,
Yeah.
the depth of character development that elevates a game from a simple roll of the dice to a truly immersive and unforgettable experience.
And speaking of unforgettable experiences, the article doesn't just leave us with these high-level concepts.
Yeah.
It dives into the practicalities of integrating these spotlight-stealing NPCs into our campaigns, offering actionable advice that we can use right now.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of tips does it offer?
Well, one of the key points the article stresses is the importance of timing.
Okay.
Introducing an NPC at just the right moment can have a huge impact on the player's experience.
Okay.
Imagine your party is struggling to decipher an ancient prophecy, feeling lost and frustrated.
Ooh, I can already feel the tension building.
Suddenly, a mysterious hermit appears, seemingly out of nowhere, offering cryptic clues and guidance. The timing of their arrival makes them instantly memorable.
Right.
A beacon of hope in a moment of despair.
It's like a perfectly timed plot twist in a movie.
Yeah.
It grabs your attention, piques your curiosity,
Right.
and makes you eager to see what happens next.
Exactly. And it's not just about when we introduce them, but how we introduce them.
Okay.
The article talks about the power of narrative hooks, secrets, unresolved pasts, hidden talents, things that pique the player's curiosity and make them want to learn more.
Okay, so we're not just dropping these NPCs into the game like random encounters.
Right.
We're weaving them into the narrative.
Exactly.
Giving them purpose, intrigue, mystery.
Precisely. Think about your enigmatic sorcerer again.
Okay.
Maybe instead of simply stating their goals, we hint at a tragic backstory.
Okay.
A lost love, a betrayal that drives their actions. Suddenly, they're not just a quest giver.
Right.
They're a complex individual with their own motivations and desires.
And those motivations, those desires, can intertwine with the player's goals.
Absolutely.
Creating opportunities for conflict, collaboration, or even unexpected alliances.
Right.
It adds a layer of depth and complexity that keeps the players engaged and invested in the story.
Exactly. And as we weave these NPCs into our campaigns, it's crucial to remember that they're not just static figures.
Right.
They should grow and change alongside the players and the world around them.
Right. It's about giving them agency.
Yeah.
Allowing them to react to the player's actions, to make their own choices.
Right.
Even if those choices sometimes surprise us as DMs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine that cowardly knight we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe through their interactions with the party, their bravery begins to blossom.
Okay.
Maybe they perform a selfless act of heroism, finally overcoming their fears.
That's a fantastic example.
Yeah.
It shows that even the most seemingly one-dimensional NPCs can evolve.
Right.
They can surprise us. They can become something more than we initially imagined.
And that evolution, that growth, keeps the campaign fresh and exciting, both for the players and for us as DMs.
I believe.
It reminds us that we're all part of this collaborative storytelling experience, where even the most seemingly minor characters can leave an indelible mark on the world.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Good. I'm glad.
I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for crafting memorable NPCs.
Awesome.
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you said earlier.
Okay.
About those NPCs who, despite their captivating qualities, need to eventually fade into the background.
Right.
How do we manage that transition gracefully without making it feel abrupt or jarring?
It's about recognizing that their departure, just like their arrival, can be a powerful storytelling tool.
Okay.
Remember that flamboyant bard who stole the show early on?
Yeah.
Perhaps as the campaign reaches its climax, they realize their role in the story is coming to an end. Maybe they choose to settle down, to pass on their knowledge to a new generation of adventurers. Or perhaps they embark on a solitary quest, seeking atonement for past misdeeds.
Ah, I see. So their departure isn't just a fade to black.
Right.
It's a deliberate choice, a final act in their personal narrative.
Exactly.
That adds a bittersweet note to the campaign's resolution.
Precisely. And even though they're no longer physically present, their legacy can continue to resonate throughout the world, influencing the players' actions and decisions long after they've said their goodbyes.
It's like the ripple effect.
Yeah.
Even the smallest actions can have far-reaching consequences.
Exactly.
And that sense of interconnectedness of history and legacy adds so much depth and meaning to our campaigns.
And it reminds us that even the most fleeting encounters can leave a lasting impression.
Right.
Just like in real life, people come and go. Yeah. But their stories, their influence can stay with us long after they've departed.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the heart of this deep dive. The celebration of those unforgettable NPCs who steal the spotlight.
Right.
Who make us laugh, who make us think, and who enrich our games in ways we never could have anticipated.
And so as we wrap up this incredibly insightful conversation, let's give another shout out to Paul Bello.
Absolutely.
Fine fellow.
Fine fellow.
For inspiring this fantastic deep dive.
Absolutely.
And to all of you listening, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What's the most memorable NPC you've encountered in your own tabletop RPG adventures?
What was it about them that made them so special?
Was it their humor?
Their quirks?
Their unexpected depth?
Or perhaps it was their graceful exit, leaving you with a sense of longing and a story that you'll never forget.
Share your experiences in the comments.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear them.
It's like we're really getting down to like the core of what makes tabletop RPGs so special.
Exactly.
It's those moments.
Yeah.
It's that connection, you know? It's not just about the rules or the dice rolls. It's about the stories we create together.
It's about those shared experiences, that sense of camaraderie, the laughter, the gasps of surprise, the moments where you're like on the edge of your seat, wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and those spotlight-stealing NPCs.
Right.
They're the catalysts for those moments.
Absolutely.
They're the ones who inject the humor into those tense situations or offer a different perspective, you know?
Yeah, they challenge our assumptions and make us see the world in a whole new light.
They remind us that even in a fantasy setting,
Right.
it's the characters, the relationships,
Yeah.
the emotional depth that truly resonates with us.
Absolutely.
So next time you're crafting an NPC for your campaign, ask yourself, how can I make this character truly memorable?
Yeah.
How can I give them that spark?
Right.
That unique quality that will stick with the players long after the session is over.
Don't be afraid to experiment, to subvert tropes, to inject humor, to give them depth and complexity.
Yeah, because sometimes those seemingly insignificant characters can become like the heart and soul of your story.
Absolutely.
And you know what? These memorable NPCs, they don't have to be limited to our tabletop games.
That's a great point.
They can inspire us in our writing, in our art, in our everyday lives. Even look around, you'll find those spotlight-stealing personalities everywhere. The barista with a quirky sense of humor, the neighbor who always has a fascinating story to tell.
Yeah, the colleague who challenges you to think differently.
Right. Embrace those moments of connection, those flashes of brilliance, those unexpected encounters that make life a little more colorful, a little more surprising.
Absolutely.
A little more memorable.
Because ultimately that's what it's all about, right? Celebrating the characters, both real and imagined, who make our world a richer, more vibrant place.
And on that note, huge thanks again to Paul Bello, fine fellow.
Oh, absolutely. Fine fellow indeed.
For inspiring this deep dive into spotlight-stealing NPCs.
It's been a pleasure.
And to all of you listening, keep those dice rolling, keep those stories flowing, and never underestimate the power of a truly unforgettable character.
Until next time.